let me get this.
Yeah.
Folks, we're back. We're going to talk about a brand new beer. Welcome back. This is RGR Craft. He's not ready, but I am. This is Mike. I'm Ryan. If you missed the last one, we went over some Roadhouse beers. I hope you guys enjoyed those. We're coming back to Colorado now. We're both in Colorado. We spent a lot of time here. We've drank through this state pretty well, I think, the two of us. And we come back to this beer quite often between the two of us. I found this beer originally at a folk festival of all things. The band and I were on a little hiatus. I was doing me and one other guy, a little acoustic act. And so we sat down, and one of the nice things about it is we got a ton of this particular beer just handed to us over and over and over. You'll take a liking to it at that point.
Right.
So we're talking about 1554 from the biggest brewery in the state, the one that you've all heard of in New Belgium, place that we've been. In fact, I had to dig out the old footage from when we took the tour there.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a good time.
Yeah.
But this is a unique beer, and I know you dig it too. Like, what's your favorite thing about it? Tell us what it is.
1554 is a New Belgium says it's not a stout, it's not a porter, it's a dark lager. So I think it's pretty kind of unique style. Maybe.
Sure.
I don't know what
Maniology.
You know what? It was for me. There's some personal history with this beer. This is one of the beers that turned me on to craft brewing.
Oh, okay.
Right. This is a long time ago, but it's a very approachable beer. And I think that New Belgium describes it perfectly. It's not a stout. It's not a lager. When you look at it, the color makes you think, all right, you're going to approach something pretty chewy.
Yeah, right.
You know, pretty dark, pretty maybe roasty or something like that. But it's not. It's very approachable beer. It's a lager, so it's a little bit maybe not as much yeast character or a
it's pretty
fermentation
clean.
character. Yeah, clean is probably the better way to say it. But yeah, this is one of my go-to beers. A long time ago. I have not had this beer in a long,
really?
long time.
That's even
so
better.
I'm looking forward to actually drinking it again. But here's another interesting thing. It was so I had this beer. This is one of my go-to beers. I drink 1554 all the time, and I liked it. And when I got into home brewing, it was the first recipe I ever developed on my own was kind of modeled a little bit after 1554. That's what I was trying to go for. So our friend Nate actually helped me with that recipe, and it was a really good beer.
Yeah,
my version of it, but I didn't come anywhere
it's
close.
tough. It's tough to do lagers when you're first starting
Absolutely,
too. That's
right,
crazy.
Right.
We'll talk about lagers coming up. I promise you guys, because the fermentation chamber's on the way. You guys saw about the spike thing. I got an update on the spike. You're going to be a little surprised, but you probably will be too. I don't know that I've even told you yet. So that's coming as well. But he's going to crack this thing open. And here's the thing. Lager yeast, fermented at lower temperatures. But when you see how this pours, you'll understand why it seems like it would be something completely different. And like I said, the first time I had this was in the middle of, I was playing gigs at a folk fest. Middle of summer, and when you see this beer, the way that it's poured, the color that it comes out with, it kind of throws you off that you might be drinking that in warm temperatures, on a day where you really just want something refreshing and try to get through the day, through the next set kind of thing. And it threw me off. So I drank one, and you can see, especially if we give you guys some light, where this comes out is a nice deep caramel, maybe even a tinge of red depending on the day. I've had it look worse, but it's not, like you said, it's not a porter, it's not a stout.
Yeah.
Although it pours dark, especially initially until you get it in the glass.
Right. There is definitely color in there. It's remarkably clear, even though it's dark enough that you just can't see through it.
Yeah.
But you can tell that there's that is a very clear beer.
Yeah, it's not brilliant. It's not translucent, but you can see there's a nice garnet color coming off of it. You guys probably can't see it on the video, but it has something that looks almost like a tinge of caramel, like that caramel that you pour out of on top of a chocolate cake, how it takes on that darker color underneath.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that, and I always like that. And when you get your face in it,
there's a lot going on in there in a really good way too.
Yeah, there's an overnote of caramel and chocolate for me.
Definitely chocolate.
But it's roasted.
Right.
I get that. It's not campfire, it's not smoke.
No.
But it's that kind of tinged, almost like a ganache chocolate. It's got that darker
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. There's definitely not a roastiness in there, but super deep chocolate, maybe a little bit of coffee.
I wish there was more coffee myself. But then you put it on the palate, and what you get out of it is this nice rounded flavor. There's very little hop presence. This is not meant to be a hoppy beer. For those of you that like that, that's not going to be in here. It's going to give you the total opposite. This is about the malt profile and what it does in terms of layers. And it still cleans up off the palate rather quickly. It's not a lingering beer. It's fairly dry, but I wouldn't say it's super dry.
Medium body.
Yeah, but it gives you something that you can have for a couple of seconds, but it won't ruin the next bite of what you're eating, and it won't ruin, whatever else you're trying to get out of your mouth.
It pairs with a lot of really good stuff. I mean, there's a lot of options for pairing, I should say.
So, New Belgium did a great job with this. And this is from when New Belgium was all employee-owned, when they did things old school and were really trying to recreate. I mean, there's a reason they're called New Belgium. There's a lot of influence from that part of the world, the European styles. This is definitely comes from that as well. But at this point, what do you think this beer is trying to say? Where are they trying to go with it?
I can't tell you where they're trying to go with it. I think I know a little bit of where it came from.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a story. You can probably just look this up on the internet. Don't trust me, but not with the details anyway. But I believe that they found a recipe for this beer. Some texts, some maybe a monastery or something from somewhere in the 1550s, maybe 1554, which is, I believe,
shocking.
The name of this beer came from. I'll be embarrassed if I'm totally wrong about that, but I believe that this is what they were trying to recreate something that they discovered or found in some text.
That'd be my guess.
It was a recipe. And this is what they ended up with.
And it definitely doesn't come off as German to me at all. So while it's not a Belgian yeast profile, it's definitely something that isn't really along those German lines. It's not a Dunkel. It doesn't come off to me like that at all. No. But it's really nice and well-rounded. It's an easy beer. It's an American palated beer without a lot of hop is what I would describe it to someone.
Right.
It makes me want to drink it more.
Yeah, for sure. And it's... the first thing that you would think when you're looking at the description of this beer maybe is that possibly it could be like a Cascadian dark ale, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not that either, right? It doesn't have that hop profile.
Otherwise known as a black IPA.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, them fighting words. But it's not. It doesn't have that kind of hop profile. It's just it's more balanced to on the malt side. For me, I like that. Not necessarily an IPA guy. Mm-hmm. I do like IPAs. I'm not going to go out of my way for them necessarily, but I like malty beers, and this being a malty beer and also a lager, a little bit more crisp, clean.
Yeah, definitely in the finish, right? Like you get
for sure.
that it was fermented clean. There's no linger funk. There's no nothing, and that lets you, quite frankly, for them from a business standpoint, lets you drink several of them before you're like, oh, hey, it's catching up with me. And that's always good, too. This pairs well with not only anything that is a little bit on the lighter side of food fare, but it pairs well with dessert, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
This, with a chocolate kind of dessert, is going to go hand in hand to the point where you might need coffee afterwards, but that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get into coffee.
Yeah.
That said, if I was going to recreate this, I would we'd have to use the fermentation chamber if we wanted to make it a true lager. But if not, I don't get any characteristics that I couldn't do with say, 05. In terms of a yeast that's going to plow through it and produce a nice clean profile.
05 is going to be clean, yep, you could do it. Yeah, there's no reason why you could not try to reproduce this beer with an ale yeast.
Okay.
For sure, absolutely. Especially 05, and there's probably some others we could probably think of a dozen that would be suitable for this.
I mean, Chico's, the San Diego strain, like all of them will go together to produce what is, again, removing everything but the malt profile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That said, as this warms up, you're going to get more layers out of it. And now I'm starting to get more coffee. And this always happens to me too. As it gets warmer, I get a touch of licorice out of the back of it.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts because I'm not a licorice fan. But it does play well with the rest of the beer. So If it were me and if you're somebody from around the country that wants to come to Colorado and try something, this is a unique beer at the biggest brewery in Colorado that has a myriad of styles that you can choose from. This is an easy way to get started to see what they're about. And maybe we'll roll the next episode will be the tour of it so you can see how they get to that point. But definitely this is on my list still. I know you started that way. Would you still drink this versus everything else that New Belgium offers?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, New Belgium's one of my favorite breweries. For a number of reasons, right? Obviously, the beers that they make are good beers. Yeah. I really like New Belgium beers. And this is a flagship for me, right, in their lineup. I'd absolutely just bring this back into my regular rotation for sure.
I think we'll do just that. And the lights are going out, folks, so that means you don't have to stay here, but you can't go home. Or whatever that saying is. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So we'll wrap it for today. If you're not subbed, hit that sub button. Click the notification bell so you can find out when we do something else, because we will be drinking again. Make sure you leave your comment below. Let us know what you think of 1554, if you've had it, if you're just interested in it. And make sure that you give us that thumbs up if you like this one. We appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this again.
Of course. And here's another challenge for the comments. If you can think of one other brewery in Colorado that is bigger than New Belgium, let us know what that is.
Good idea. Thanks, folks. We'll hit you next time.
Dude, come on, man. Coors?
Shut up. Coors doesn't count.
You can edit that out, too.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's the good